Welcome to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Friday, April 9th, 2021, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well today. We know it's been a busy week, and we know we got some news today that people were bracing for and really did not want to get. We found out today that Earl Simmons, better known as DMX, passed away today at age 50. He had been hospitalized for a week, and we know he had bouts previously fighting drug addiction, etc. But we know he passed away today at age 50. So we talked about it on Roland Martin Unfiltered today. I was a panelist on Roland Martin Unfiltered. I'm going to share an excerpt of that with you. And also, today was day 10 of the Derek Chauvin trial in the murder of George Floyd. And more damaging testimony came out today, damaging for the defense. We see that the medical examiner testified today, Dr. Andrew Baker, and the medical examiner testified that drugs and heart disease were not direct causes of George Floyd's death. Drug and heart disease were not direct causes of George Floyd's death. He said it was homicide. We're going to break that down. Very, very damaging testimony once again today. And then we also heard from Dr. Lindsay Thomas, who is a forensic pathologist who helped train Dr. Andrew Baker. Dr. Andrew Baker was the medical examiner who conducted the autopsy on George Floyd. So once again, the defense is trying to blame it on drugs. If there was alcohol in George Floyd's system, they would do like Jamie Foxx said, blame it on the alcohol. If it was raining outside, maybe they try to do like Milli Vanilli and blame it on the rain. But no, medical examiner continued, and he said that his testimony maintained that that Derek Chauvin's actions, including pinning George Floyd to the street for 9.5 minutes, were the primary causes of George Floyd's death. So we'll talk about that on today's show. Now, on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct your own behavior, what you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or a woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events and history, politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a quick question or comment. And those watching on Facebook and YouTube, share this broadcast on your social media platforms also. All right, we're going to go to clip one, Shakita. That should be queued up at the right mark, I think. So I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered today, and we talked about the passing of DMX and how tragic it was. And we talked a little bit about the impact that DMX had on hip hop. Let's go to this clip. Take it off mute.
A week ago, many folks were shocked to learn of DMX being in the hospital after suffering a heart attack after an overdose. Today, his family announced his death. Of course, this is the statement that they released to the public after the number of people speculated last night that he had passed away. That really, he was removed from life support today. This is their statement right here. We're deeply saddened to announce today that our loved one, DMX, birth name of Earl Simmons, passed away at 50 years old at White Plains Hospital with his family by his side after being placed on life support for the past few days. Earl was a warrior who fought till the very end. He loved his family with all his heart, and we cherish the times we spent with him. Earl's music inspired countless fans across the world, and his iconic legacy will live on forever. We appreciate all the love and support during this incredibly difficult time. Please respect our privacy as we grieve the loss of our brother, father, uncle, and the man the world knew as DMX. We will share information about his memorial service once details are finalized. He, of course, is known for hits like Party Up, X Gonna Give It, and just so many other songs with Rough Riders. And, of course, history-making artist. The number of consecutive platinum albums, just stunning. The production that he had in the 1990s cannot simply be ignored. DMX talked openly about the first time he smoked a joint, but it was laced with cocaine, given to him, laced with crack, given to him by a mentor of his. It was that action that actually led to years and years of significant issues with drugs. He was in and out of rehab, in trouble with the law enforcement, fighting his demons, a man who believed in God. Did an entire gospel album talking about faith and the demons and the devil and the battle back and forth. And so he was someone who had a significant influence on hip-hop. Again, lost at the age of 50 years old, all across social media. Folks have been paying tribute to DMX. Individuals posting photos, encounters, their first time meeting him, videos as well. On Monday, we are going to have our hour-long special dedicated to the life of DMX. But right now, I do want to talk about his life and legacy with our panel. Joining me right now is, of course, Rob Richardson, host of the Disruption Now podcast, Michael Imhotep, host of the African History Network show, Johan LeBlanc, National Security and Foreign Affairs legal analyst.
All right. Hey, pause it right there, Shakita. We're coming up on the break. Pause it right there. Just back it up about 20 seconds or so. We'll pick that up on the other side of the break. All right. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation of Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a quick question or comment, we'll be back in a few minutes.
Are you getting ready for fall or winter? We have the solution for all seasonal clothing needs. Comedicwear.com is the go-to online source for Comedic African fashion and lifestyle products with a contemporary twist. We're committed to offering unique styles reflecting our African heritage. Comedicwear.com is inspired by ComedicScribes.com to influence our people in learning and showing pride. Please visit our website at ComedicWear.com.
Gain knowledge in minutes from insightful summaries of progressive and socially conscious books. Blacklisted gives you access to curated content that'll satisfy your curiosity to learn and understand different perspectives. Empower yourself through inspirational and actionable ideas. It's easy to read or listen to on the go. Blacklisted. Empower yourself. Start your free trial today.
We all know the cannabis industry is headed toward an uprise in the past decade. What happens when there is a brand that brings this uprise in a blow? The cannabis industry welcomes her uprise. Hustle her hemp. Delivering excellence with pride is her watchword, and how you choose to embrace it makes it a priority. From cultivating rich cannabis into exquisite and tastefully finished CBD products to delivery, Hustle Her Hemp leaves no stone unturned. Hustle Her Hemp's mission is to empower women of color by building business and creating legacies, uniting beauty, health, and business. We are a pure definition of how we want the CBD industry to become in the future. While we are redefining innovation, we bring the same energy to improving the quality of life. Hustle Her Hemp is the new uprise.
Hi, I'm Joel Wilson, President and CEO of JCW Computer Consulting LLC, a technology implementation firm with over 20 years of satisfying customers. We offer a full spectrum of industry top-tier branded services. We are an authorized partner or reseller for Lenovo, Zoom, T-Mobile, Microsoft 365 and Surface tablets, Google Workspace, Acer, Asus, Samsung, PCmatic security software, and many more. Our online store features laptops, Chromebooks, computers, printers, accessories, and software. Businesses, take advantage of our free 1-hour Zoom tech consultation and know we offer top nationwide high-speed internet service providers, voice over IP, and cellular phone services. Home users, don't miss our current in-stock Chromebook inventory. Please visit us at jcwcc.com or call 215-879-6701.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation of Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Friday, April 9th, 2021, and we're live. Okay, so right before the break, we were talking about the passing of one DMX, Earl Simmons, legendary hip-hop artist, actor as well. We talked about the day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. I'm a panelist every Friday on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go back to this clip, Shakita.
It's like Party Up. X gonna give it, and just so many other songs with Rough Riders, and of course history-making artists. The number of consecutive platinum albums, just stunning. The production that he had in the 1990s cannot simply be ignored. DMX talked openly about the first time he smoked a joint, but it was laced with cocaine, given to him, laced with crack, given to him by a mentor of his. It was that action that actually led to years and years of significant issues with drugs. He was in and out of rehab, in trouble with the law enforcement, fighting his demons, a man who believed in God. There's an entire gospel album talking about faith and the demons and the devil and the battle back and forth. And so he was someone who had a significant influence on hip-hop. Again, lost at the age of 50 years old. All across social media, folks have been paying tribute to DMX. Individuals posting photos, encounters, their first time meeting him, videos as well. On Monday, we are going to have our hour-long special dedicated to the life of DMX. But right now, I do want to talk about his life and legacy with our panel. Joining me right now is, of course, Rob Richardson, host of the Disruption Now podcast, Michael Imhotep, host of the African History Network show, Johanna LeBlanc, National Security and Foreign Affairs legal analyst. Rob, I'll start with you. Again, the influence of DMX is undeniable. The moment you heard his voice, you knew exactly who he was. He did not sound like anyone else. He's been described as a tortured soul. And one tweet said, people often say rest in peace when someone passes away. And one person said, if that was a phrase that was really meant for anybody, they hope that DMX would rest in peace after really the last 30 years of his life.
Yeah, DMX, I came of age during DMX. It was all the music we listened to at parties, and you knew who DMX was. His voice was undeniable. You knew it was just a powerful voice, and you could feel in his music he was tortured. He talked through his music. A lot of it was literally, you talk about the demons he battled. He had a lot of his songs and a lot of the poetry in his songs was about the demons he was battling, and you could feel it, and you knew that it was more than just entertainment. It was who he was. And yes, he struggled like a lot of us have, like a lot of people have with addiction. And it's a demon that is hard to fight. I have family members that have battled with addiction. And once you're an addict, you're always an addict. And you just have to make sure that you step away from it, that you don't put yourself in a situation. But it's very hard because if you are an addict, you happen to have that gene and you have the encounter that something like DMX had where someone exposes you when they shouldn't, it can really affect you. So I really felt his music to my soul. And he made an impact on this world, though. His voice will never be forgotten, and you know who he is. Every time you hear a DMX song, you'll know. And I think people are going to get to know more about his music and relive some of the 90s. Those are my years in college, and DMX is one of the people I think of.
Michael Imhotep.
Roland, I remember working at a radio station when DMX was hot in the late 90s. A popular radio station here in Detroit. DMX had some club bangers. I'm telling people think I wasn't in the clubs. Oh, yes, I was. Oh, I had friends that own clubs. DMX song comes on, whether it's a nightclub or a gentleman's club. People know the song. So I remember back in late 90s, it was a popular phrase, y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here. That's DMX. I got DMX in the crates on cassette tape. I got DMX in the crate on cassette tape. I have a ton of music, all different genres. But when you listen to DMX, as Rob was saying, you can tell. And back then, I didn't know like his whole story. We know more about it now because social media, late 90s, man, it wasn't anywhere. I mean, Google was founded in 1995. YouTube wasn't founded in 2005. But when you listen to his lyrics, you can tell he was a tortured soul. He was fighting these demons. And a lot of people could relate to this. So it wasn't, even though maybe some of the lyrical content, everybody might not agree with things like this, but you knew it was something deeper that he was fighting. And unfortunately, and I'll be 50 June 7th of this year. And one thing I've talked about on my show, and I grew up with hip hop, going back to Rapper's Delight, 1979. When we were listening to all these artists, whether it's Run DMC, things like this, we never thought about them dying from heart attacks, drug overdoses. I'm still shocked by gray hair rappers. I'm like, who the hell is this? I grew up with them, but still, look, I saw a commercial with Tag Team, and they had gray beards. I'm like, who the hell is this? So we never thought about, because we listened to them when we were younger, a lot of times we never thought about these rappers getting older and passing on. So, this is a tragedy, brother. But, yeah, he can really rest in peace now.
Well, the reality is I don't think anyone thinks about folks who, in essence, were peers doing that. We think folks are going to live forever. If you grew up with Aretha Franklin, if you grew up with Mary Wilson, if you grew up with any number of artists, that's what people think. I think also what is very difficult, Johanna, is for folks to really understand addiction, to really understand.
All right, pause it right there, Shakita.
That was, and that's.
All right, you can check out the full show over on Roland's YouTube channel, Roland Martin on YouTube, and then also Roland Martin on Facebook. And I shared it on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. I shared it when we were on live today, so you can watch it there as well. That's Roland Martin Unfiltered from April 9th, 2021. Okay, so I want to look at a couple quick articles here dealing with DMX. Black America, I posted a few of them. I've been reading some all throughout the day. Well, when we got the news, I think I got the news around noon or 1 o'clock or something like that. BlackAmericaWeb.com has an article that we posted at the African History Network on Facebook. DMS passes away at 50 after week spent on life support following heart attack. There's also a good one from the Washington Post as well that I'll talk about also. Then we'll do a day 10 of the Derek Chauvin trial. So, so DMX, one of the most provocative rappers or hip hop artists of the mid 90s, who was the antithesis to the flashy world of P. Diddy, Sean Puffy Combs, and Jay-Z in New York, has passed away at age 50. Now, there was New York Times has an article dealing with like his top 10 songs or something like that, top 10 songs to be on a playlist. And one of the things they talk about is, let me flip over here. Look at this. His first five albums debuted at number one. And this is a feat no rapper has matched before or since. Okay. And when you watch on BET, they have, it's either a 4 or 5 part series dealing with the Rough Riders, dealing with DMX and the Rough Riders. And it's really good. I watched that one, and I watched the one dealing with No Limit Records and Master P. And I learned a lot about both hip hop artists, even though I remember when they came out. But when you watch it dealing with Rough Riders, they talk about DMX and his first 5 albums debuting at number one. But they also talk about the culture of the Rough Riders that he introduced and the business that he built around the Rough Riders also. Okay. Now, so they have the statement in here from the family as well. And they say, please respect our privacy as we grieve the loss of our brother, father, uncle, and the man the world knew as DMX. I would also say these BS conspiracy theories people want to spread. His body isn't even cold. And you want to elevate your social media platform to spread conspiracy theories. You know, see, some people had no consideration. Some people had, y'all did the same BS with Hank Aaron. Okay. Some people just had no consideration. Hopefully people have more consideration when you die. Not saying that you deserve it, but just hopefully people have more consideration when you die. So DMX, born Earl Simmons, had been hospitalized for nearly a week after suffering a heart attack in his New York home, according to multiple reports. When police discovered him, he had been without oxygen for over 30 minutes. Now, he was transported to a hospital in White Plains, New York, where he was placed on life support. His family and millions of fans hoped he would pull through, but his condition had not improved. Sadly, his family made the difficult decision on Thursday, April 8th, to remove him from life support. And then yet people jumping the gun, putting stuff out, saying he was already dead when he was still on life support. You know, some people are just really insensitive. I don't know what the hell their problem is. Maybe they're on drugs. I don't know. Now, fans held numerous prayer vigils for DMX throughout the week. There was one this past Monday also. Honest and open about his struggles with addiction and his personal demons. The New York rapper rose to prominence in the early 90s as DMX the Great before finally breaking through as simply DMX through a string of guest appearances in 1997 and 1998. His debut album, Is Dark and Hell is Hot, debuted at number one on the Billboard 200 chart, powered by singles such as Get At Me Dog, Rough Riders Anthem, and How It's Going Down. Okay. Now also remember that through DMX and the Rough Riders, that introduced us to Eve. Eve. I got Eve CDs also. Okay. As well. And I saw a post she did on Instagram today. Now, so you have a lot of celebrities putting out statements on social media, things like this, their condolences. and remembering DMX also. So we'll share a few of them here. Let me pull that up also. Okay, yeah, we'll share that also. All right, now let's continue here. Okay, so then famously challenged by his label Def Jam Records, DMX would drop another album in 1998, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, powered by the personal and emotional song Slippin'. Now, the commercial success for DMX would continue for the next 6 years. Follow-up albums, including 1999's blockbuster release, and then there was X, The Great Depression, and Grand Champ, all debuted at number 1. The 1999 effort became his highest-selling album, buoyed by massive songs such as What's My Name, Party Up, and What These Bees Want. Okay. I think Matt Gaetz is asking that question right about now. I think Matt Gaetz is asking. I think Matt Gaetz is probably saying these pros ain't loyal right about now. I think he has some problems. Matt Gaetz. We talked about Matt Gaetz today as well. Representative Matt Gaetz out of Florida. Sugar Daddy Matt Gaetz. Now, though an honest blend of gospel, graphic, and blunt lyricism, discussions about depression, suicide, and music, DMX's delivery placed him on the same path of a beloved figure as Houston rapper Scarface from the Ghetto Boys. Okay, my mind's playing tricks on me. Scarface. Now, at one point, he was the unquestioned face of hip hop from 1988 well into 1999. From 1998, I should say, 1998 well into 1999. Respected by many across the globe. His Woodstock performance in 1999 is constantly referenced as him performing for the entire world and the world listening solely to him. He said, "I'm a king regardless of what I've been through and what I've done. I present myself as a king," DMX once said. And he said, "And I get that respect from people, from everybody I deal with. I work my whole life to establish that respect and make sure I get that respect," end quote. Now, despite his numerous legal issues and struggles, the Yonkers, New York rapper continued to find success and grace. He would cross over as an action star in the late 90s in Hype Williams' flashy crime noir film Belly, before later having star turns in Romeo Must Die. I remember Romeo Must Die. That was a good movie with Jet Li. Romeo Must Die. Then Exit Wounds, okay? Exit Wounds and Cradle to the Grave. All right. He did movies with Steven Seagal. So I remember those as well. And then also the movie Never Die Alone. Okay. So, you know, it was good to see DMX in movies, you know, because he was somebody, I think he was somebody that you were rooting for. You knew he had problems and things like this, but it's good to see him off doing other things like that he wants to do. You know, it's just, you know, drugs are a powerful thing. And he talked about, I read about the interview that he did where he talked about his mentor, who was 30 years old, gave him a blunt that was laced with crack when he was 14, but he didn't know it was laced with crack. And that's what got him hooked on drugs. And he said he said, "Why would you do that to somebody?" He said he wouldn't wish that on like his worst enemy or something to that effect. So recently, DMX found himself healthy, appearing on Versus alongside Snoop Dogg. Now that was a really good Versus also. Okay, that's a classic Versus. Snoop Dogg and DMX. Okay, that's a classic Versus, and they'll probably they may rebroadcast that on Versus also. But yeah, that was a classic verses. All right. And I know a lot of people just watch the Isley Brothers and Earth, Wind and Fire. That was a classic one as well. But I want to see Snoop Dogg and DMX once again. Okay. So I'm going to have to, hopefully they'll rebroadcast that on Instagram. All right, let's go back. Let's go back to the article here from blackamericaweb.com. So DMX appeared on Versus alongside Snoop Dogg and receiving his flowers with BET's Rough Rider Chronicles. Yeah, the Rough Rider Chronicles docuseries. Watch that. They may run that again this weekend, but that is fantastic. And my degree is in business administration, so I always look at the business side of music. I used to I used to work at a radio station 20 years ago, a music radio station here in Detroit 20 years ago on the business side, but I got to meet artists and different, that's how I know some artists are not like the persona that's projected. But I've always been interested in the business side of you. So you see people performing on stage. Okay, now how did they get to that point? Who's working behind the scenes? What the contracts, the promotion, the marketing? I knew a lot of concert promoters. I knew people that worked for record companies, things like this. And when the digital downloads came, especially like in the late 90s, early 2000s. But I remember specifically talking to somebody who worked for a record company, and I forgot their position, but they would go around to the different radio stations and meet with the programming directors. They would meet with the programming directors and the vice president of programming at different radio stations, like in I think they may have done like a region. And I remember him telling me specifically how the digital downloads cut into the revenue and the bottom line of the record companies. And then once you start seeing the digital downloads cutting into the revenue, then you start seeing a consolidation of these different record companies and different record labels disappearing, and then different artists being released from their contracts. Because if you have, so if you got Beyonce on your label and you acquire another label and it's not exactly Beyonce, but they have another artist who's a R&B female, and she's trying to do kind of like Beyonce type music. Well, you don't need both of them. So what's going to happen? Well, there was a lot of that took place. So it's just interesting seeing, remembering the music industry back in the late 90s, 98, 99, 2000. So the Rough Rider Chronicles came out on BET. That's fantastic. I read people watch that. And the No Limit Chronicles, dealing with No Limit Records, that was really good. And one of the things that the Rough Rider Chronicles did was it dealt with the business that DMX and his partner created around like the Rough Riders. Okay, so it's very informational. It's entertaining and informational. He also made a guest appearance on ABC's Fresh Off the Boat as a quirky neighbor who offered sage advice regarding love, patience, and time. Now, in recent years, DMX had been more vulnerable, recalling the tragic moment which led him down a path of addiction through receiving a laced blunt from a mentor, quote unquote mentor, when he was 14 years old. The mentor was 30. He said, "I hit the blunt and I was no longer focused on the money. I never felt like this. It just effed me up," DMX said. He said, "I later found out he laced the blunt with crack." Okay. Now, this is a cautionary tale. Now, I'm somebody, I'll be 50 in June. I've never done any type of drugs. I never smoked marijuana. I knew people smoke marijuana. Never used marijuana. I ain't taking drugs from somebody else. I don't know. Now, here's something that I find interesting, right? I find it very interesting that you have, now I've said before here on the show, regarding the vaccine, consult with medical professionals. Get medical advice from medical professionals, not people on social media who you don't know. Okay, get medical advice from medical professionals, especially your doctor who knows your medical history. Because you got a lot of people talking a bunch of nonsense, and they don't know your medical history. They don't know your risk factors or anything like that. Okay, so I've said this numerous times before. But what I find very interesting is how you'll have people who will speak negatively about the vaccine, but they'll go to a white-owned marijuana dispensary about marijuana and smoke it. You don't know what's in the marijuana? I just find that interesting. You can do that if you want to. I just find it interesting. I find it interesting that they'll speak negatively about the vaccine and they talk about the Tuskegee experiment that ended in 1972. And when you research the Tuskegee experiment, and I've done lectures on the Tuskegee experiment, they didn't even inject them with syphilis. There were 600 men in the Tuskegee experiment of untreated syphilis in the Negro male, which was conducted by the U.S. Public Health Service. 399 of the men in the study had an early form of syphilis called latent syphilis. They already had it. They were tested for syphilis. They weren't injected with it, contrary to popular belief. This is why when you actually research it, it's only social media memes that don't provide sources that tell you that they were injected with syphilis, because that's not what happened. It's BS. Probably from some of the same people who early 2020, February and March, were saying black people couldn't get coronavirus. Remember those people? Then when they couldn't keep running that hustle, they had to go to hydroxychloroquine. Then when they couldn't keep running that hustle, they had to go something else. So I just find it interesting. You know, is that way say you go to a white-owned marijuana dispensary and you gonna buy marijuana and smoke it, and you don't know what's in it, but you say don't take the vaccine because you don't know what's in it. You can do what you want to do. I just find all that. I just sit back and look and say, okay, that's okay, whatever. The other thing is, we talked about this before. How many of y'all smoke cigarettes? There's 600 ingredients in cigarettes. Research cigarettes. Google cigarettes. There's 600 ingredients in cigarettes. Now, I don't smoke cigarettes either. I don't do none of that stuff. And I've talked to people who quit cigarettes, and you know, from what I hear, getting off of cigarettes is harder. Some people say it's harder than kicking heroin addictions. But there's only a fraction of the ingredients of cigarettes on the side of the package. There are approximately 600 ingredients in cigarettes. What is on the side of the package is a big ass warning label from the Surgeon General that says, warning, smoking cigarettes is hazardous to your health. But there are about 34 million cigarette smokers in the U.S. So I just find all this interesting. Some of the same people that say don't take the vaccine smoke cigarettes. And there's about 600 ingredients in cigarettes, and you don't know what's in that. So you do what you want to do, but consult with medical professionals. Get medical advice from medical professionals. Get medical advice from people that have medical credentials and know your medical history as well. So, do your research. All right, now let's go back to this here. I want to show you this. This is DMX talking about being introduced to drugs. This is a cautionary tale, okay? And I'm somebody, I don't do drugs at all. Now, you know, I've said before, you know, they need to be legal because all these drugs, you know, cocaine used to be legal. But there was a fear of black men high on cocaine. What would they do to white women? That's why you go back to, you know, a couple of nights ago, well, yesterday, we talked about excited delirium in the George Floyd case. And that ties into a history of a fear of black men high on drugs. And if you go back to February 8th, 1914, in the article from the New York Times dealing with Negro cocaine fiends have turned to sniffing because prohibition is illegal. That was dealing with that article from the New York Times was dealing with the fear of what happens when black men are high on cocaine. They're going to have superhuman strength and not feel pain. Do police officers now need a 45 caliber handgun to kill a Negro high on cocaine because a 38 is not powerful enough? Google that phrase, Negro cocaine fiends. We'll show you the article here in just a second. But let's look at this here. DMX in an interview talking about being introduced to drugs at age 14. And I wish I could blow this up. Okay, we can blow this up a little larger. He said, I hit the blunt and I was no longer focused on the money. I've never felt like this. It just effed me up. I later found out that he laced the blunt with crack. Why would you do that to a child? He knew I looked up to him. Why would you do that to somebody who looks up to you? A monster was born. I wouldn't do that to my worst enemy, especially to someone that you supposedly love. All right. And this reminds me of Rick James. You remember on Dave Chappelle's Chappelle show, and they had Rick James on and they did the skit, cocaine's a powerful drug. You remember that? Right? And talking and Rick James had demons he was fighting as well. You know, it's like we've lost so many of our talented artists because of drug addictions, one drug or another. All right. So check this article here. This is a good article from blackamericaweb.com. DMX passes away at 50 after weeks spent on life support following heart attack by Brandon Caldwell. Check this out for blackamericaweb.com. And then there was also a good one here from Washington Post. We'll pull that one up also. Let's see here. Just a second. Let's bring this up here. Okay. We'll look at this one here from the Washington Post as well. Now, we'll be here for a few more minutes on 910 AM Superstation WFDF, and then we'll continue on we'll continue here on Facebook and YouTube. Those watching on my Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, will continue broadcasting there. Okay. All right. And then we'll get into day 10. We'll talk a little bit about day 10 of the Derek Chauvin trial. Now, we'll be back Sunday. We're on 2 hours on Sunday. So we're on Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Sundays, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time. And then Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. So we'll be back Sunday for 2 hours. So look out for that as well. You can still register for the online course that I teach, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We do with thousands of years of history and what led up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. So I teach this class on Tuesdays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is a 9-week course. It's about 18 hours. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are recorded, and you can go back and watch them over and over again if you can't watch the class live. So visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And we just posted a link here also for it. So Washington Post also has a really good article. DMX chart-topping rapper with gruff voice and hard scrabble life dies at age 50 as well. So you can check that one out. Let's see. Let's flip over. We'll show you that title also here. But hopefully this will cause people to, drug addiction is something that, humanizing drug addiction, especially in African Americans, is something that has come up in the Chauvin trial, because George Floyd was addicted to opioids because of I think it was a back injury that he had. Okay. And this is something that's very common. But when we deal with something like that, there is a negative historical context that comes out of racism, that there's a fear of African Americans who are high on drugs. And also you have people who still operate based upon stereotypes, like African Americans have a higher pain tolerance or something like this. Okay. We talked about this a couple of days ago in the article from blackdoctor.org that showed how some medical students still operate based upon these stereotypical images when it comes to African Americans and painkillers and pain tolerance, etc. All right. But then this, us being looked at as not being human, then plays a role when it comes to trying to get help for our addictions, because oftentimes we'll get blamed for being an addict. We'll get blamed for what happens to us. And then you look at George Floyd, the defense is really trying to blame George Floyd and say, oh, it was the drugs he took that killed him, not the knee that was on his neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. They're really trying to blame George Floyd for his own death. All right. Those watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching. We'll be here for a few minutes longer. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. Superstation Future Radio. Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few. We'll talk to you Sunday night. Peace. All right. I thought we were going to commercial break for a minute. No. Okay, let's continue here. So check out this article also from Washington Post. DMX chart-topping rapper with gruff voice and hard scrabble life dies at age 50. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Okay, then we'll talk about we'll give an update on what's going on with DMX probably on Sunday's show. We'll try to do that as well. Let's see. There was one article I was looking at from NBC News that had a response from celebrities also. We'll see if we can pull that one up because I'm in a different browser. But in an interview in 2020, rapper Talib Kweli's People's Party show, DMX said his drug use started at age 14 when his mentor at the time gave him a blunt laced with crack. Okay, that was Talib Kweli's show. I follow Talib Kweli on Instagram and Twitter as well because I've talked to him on Twitter, but I follow him on Instagram. All right, and then let's see if we can get some responses from celebrities here. Just 1 second, because I'm in a different browser. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Let's look at this here. Celebrities, hip-hop artists react to DMX's death. Everyone from Chance the Rapper to a number of different artists are putting out responses. Let's look at this quickly here. Yeah, Representative Jamal Bowman sending love, strength, and healing to DMX's family. May he rest in peace, and may his spirit live on in Mount Vernon and worldwide through the impact your music had on us all. Chance the Rapper, rest in heaven, DMX. Lonnie Love, meeting DMX. Okay, she recalled a memory of meeting DMX in an airport with Sherry Shepherd. She called me and X to the phone, and we talked, laughed, and prayed a good 30 minutes. I wish we had more time. Ice Cube said he is sending warrior prayers to the homie DMX on Twitter. His gift meant so much to so many. Halle Berry tweeted, sending love to his family. Fatima Naima Warner, a rapper professionally known as No Name, says rest easy, DMX. Let me expand this. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Every dog has its day, tweeted Buffalo Bills linebacker Andre Smith. Rest in peace, DMX. Okay, so those are just a few celebrities and hip-hop artists reacting to DMX's untimely passing. All right, so switching gears here. Today was day 10 of the Derek Chauvin trial. And it was another devastating day for the defense. Okay, another devastating day for the defense. Did not go well for Derek Chauvin. And we heard testimony from Dr. Andrew Baker. Okay, and Dr. Andrew Baker is the doctor who performed the autopsy. Okay. And we're going to go to NBC Nightly News here for a recap in just a second. Let's see here. Okay. Let me bring this up. Just 1 second, because I don't have my board operator. We're only on 9:10 a.m. for 1 hour, so I have to do everything myself now. So the medical examiner took away all of Derek Chauvin's hopes and dreams of trying to blame the drugs, and if there was alcohol, he probably blame it on the alcohol also. The medical examiner, Dr. Andrew Baker, testified that drugs and heart disease were not direct causes of George Floyd's death. He said it was a homicide. He said drugs and heart disease were not direct causes of George Floyd's death. Okay, which is contradictory to what defense attorney Nelson has been trying to portray. Here, let's go to. I want to go to this clip here. Chauvin trial medical expert. Let me see. Hold on. That's not the one I want. Just a second. Let me get the clip I want. Hold on just a second. Let me pull up the. Let me pull up the right clip. Just a minute here. This is you're going to hear Dr. Andrew Baker, who testified today.
This week, medical expert after expert drew this conclusion. George Floyd did not die because of drugs.
I believe the primary mechanism of death is asphyxia or low oxygen. There's no evidence to suggest he would have died that night, except for the interactions with law enforcement.
And today, highly anticipated testimony from the Hennepin County Medical Examiner, Dr. Andrew Baker, the only person to conduct an initial autopsy on Floyd.
I was aware that at least one video had gone viral on the internet, but I intentionally chose not to look at that until I had examined Mr. Floyd. I did not want to bias my exam by going in with any preconceived notions.
Baker determined that Floyd's cause of death was cardiopulmonary arrest. In other words, that his heart and lungs stopped while he was being subdued, restrained, and compressed by police officers.
In my opinion, the law enforcement subdual, restraint, and the neck compression was just more than Mr. Floyd could take by virtue of those heart conditions.
The manner of Floyd's death, Baker found, was homicide, but the autopsy report did not mention asphyxia or lack of oxygen. It did mention fentanyl and meth in Floyd's system. Derek Chauvin's attorney has seized on that, arguing that those drugs and underlying medical conditions killed Floyd, not Chauvin's knee on his neck.
Have you certified deaths as an overdose where the level of fentanyl was similar to the level of fentanyl in Mr. Floyd?
Yes.
As Baker told the prosecution,
Mr. Floyd's use of fentanyl did not cause the subdual or neck restraint. His heart disease did not cause the subdual or the neck restraint.
For Floyd's family, this week's testimony has been gut-wrenching. Floyd's niece left the courtroom after seeing the video of her uncle's death again.
It's very hard and emotional in there. They just watched him die until he was lifeless. They sat on him like he was an animal or something.
Dave, prosecutors have now called a remarkable 35 witnesses. What's next?
Well, the prosecution is expected to rest its case early next week. Then the defense takes center stage. Lester, the biggest question, will Chauvin himself testify?
Okay, so it's expected Monday or Tuesday, the defense will wrap up their case and rest their case. I'm sorry, the prosecution is expected Monday or Tuesday. The prosecution will wrap up their case and rest their case. Then the defense will present their case. Okay. And you know, as I've been cautioning people, the defense has not presented their case yet. Even though all this testimony is damaging, it's important to understand the defense has not presented their case yet. Yes, they've done cross-examinations. Okay. Defense attorney Nelson, but the defense has not presented their case yet. So the defense has not presented their expert witnesses and different things like this. We haven't seen that yet. Okay. So it's expected from the beginning of the case, it was said that the case will last the trial will last 2 to 4 weeks. So we just concluded week 2, so we'll see. All right, I want to we'll look at this quick recap here, what took place today, and then also I want to go to this next clip here from the forensic pathologist. We're going to hear from forensic pathologist Dr. Lindsay Thomas. Dr. Lindsay Thomas here in just a minute. But let's look at these updates here from the New York Times. Let's look at this here. Takeaways from day 10 of the trial. So you just heard Dr. Andrew Baker, who is the medical examiner who conducted the autopsy. Now, one of the most anticipated witnesses of Derek Chauvin's trial, the Hennepin County medical examiner who performed the initial autopsy of George Floyd, testified Friday, August 9th, that while police restraint was the main cause of George Floyd's death, drug use and heart disease were contributing factors. But the main cause of his death was police restraint, specifically the knee on his neck. Okay. Now, the medical examiner, Andrew Baker, declared Floyd's death a homicide. Okay. Once again, in his autopsy. Okay. And he stuck to that. See, I watched the whole thing today. I've watched every day of the trial, and you know, we talk about it here. So I'm going through editing the rest of the shows from this week. we'll be rebroadcasting those throughout the day and all during the weekend. You can go back and watch all this stuff because I go through and break down each day of the trial. Okay. So what happened was at the end of the day, the medical examiner, the medical examiner stuck with what was in the autopsy report. Okay. So just a second here. We'll go to this clip here in just a minute. But the medical examiner stuck with what was in the medical report, the autopsy. So the medical examiner, Dr. Andrew Baker, declared George Floyd's death a homicide in his autopsy, but had made several statements leading up to the trial that could have complicated the arguments of the prosecution, particularly in relation to George Floyd's drug use. Okay, and this is what the defense was trying to use. Now, in all, his testimony maintained that Derek Chauvin's actions, pinning George Floyd to the street for 9.5 minutes, were the primary cause of death. It was the knee on the neck. Okay, it wasn't the fentanyl in the system. You can't blame it on the alcohol. It was the knee on the neck. Now, jurors also heard from Dr. Lindsay Thomas, a forensic pathologist who helped train Dr. Andrew Baker. During her testimony, Dr. Thomas said she believed that George Floyd died from a deprivation of oxygen caused by the restraint of Derek Chauvin, who's being charged. Now, we go through and let me see how many of these highlights we're going to go through. Well, some of this is redundant. Now, one thing that's important to I want to zoom in on here. Though multiple contributing factors may have contributed to George Floyd's death, Dr. Andrew Baker, who performed the autopsy, said he believed that the primary cause of death was the same as he wrote in his initial autopsy. The primary cause of death was the same as he wrote in his initial autopsy. It was cardiopulmonary arrest complicating law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression. Cardiopulmonary arrest complicating law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression. In simpler terms, Dr. Andrew Baker said that George Floyd would not have died if it were not for the actions of Derek Chauvin, especially Chauvin's knee on his neck, but also as Dr. Martin Tobin testified on Thursday, and Dr. Tobin, who's a pulmonologist, he's a breathing expert and a lung expert. We go watch the show from Thursday, April 9th. We went through and broke down his expert testimony. He talked about how George Floyd, his rib cage could not expand. It was being constricted by the knee, because Chauvin had one knee on George Floyd's neck, the other knee on George Floyd's back. And his rib cage could not expand so he could inhale, okay? And he actually, they didn't show the picture to, they didn't broadcast the picture that the prosecutor showed to Dr. Martin Tobin in court. But he pinpointed the exact second when all the life was drained out of George Floyd's body because all the oxygen had been drained out of his body. He pinpointed the exact second as well. It was devastating testimony on Thursday, August 8th. But Dr. Andrew Baker, who performed the autopsy, said that George Floyd would not have died if it were not for the actions of Derek Chauvin. That's a death knell to the defense. Still, he said that the compounding factors, including heart disease played a role as well. But the contributing factor, the major contributing factor, is what Derek Chauvin did. Now, Dr. Andrew Baker agreed with a statement from the defense that methamphetamine was hard on the heart. But having a knee on your neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds ain't gonna help your heart either. That's not gonna be too good for your heart either. I'm here to tell you, okay? And as Dr. Martin Tobin, the pulmonologist, testified on Thursday, if you had a perfectly healthy person, and Derek Chauvin did the same thing to them, they die also. Now, a toxicology report found methamphetamine and fentanyl in George Floyd's system, and pill fragments found at the scene contained the same drugs, okay? Dr. Baker said he found no pill fragments in George Floyd's stomach, however, okay? Dr. Andrew Baker said he found no pill fragments in George Floyd's stomach. Now, Dr. Andrew Baker also said that George Floyd had a larger heart than most people, okay? It required more oxygen to continue pumping throughout the body, especially during a high-intensity situation like the one George Floyd experienced when being pinned to the asphalt for more than 9 minutes. Quote, those events are going to cause stress hormones to pour out into your body. Those events are going to cause hormones to pour out into your body, specifically things like adrenaline. And what that adrenaline is going to do is it's going to ask your heart to beat faster. It's going to ask your body for more oxygen so that you can get through the altercation. Okay, Dr. Baker said. He went on to say, and in my opinion, the law enforcement, subdural restraint, and the neck compression was just more than Mr. Floyd could take by virtue of those heart conditions. Okay. But once again, the major contributing factor is what the police were doing to George Floyd. Not his not larger than normal heart, not the drugs in his system. Okay. Not the sign he was born under. Okay. None of that wasn't the fact that he had coronavirus some months before, whatever. No, it wasn't the overdose the year before, whatever. No, that wasn't it either. No, it was what the police did to him. That's what the major contributing factor was. Okay, I want to go to this last clip here. This is from MSNBC. And this is Dr. Lindsay Thomas, okay? And this is, she trained Dr. Andrew Baker, all right? She is a forensic pathologist, and she trained Dr. Andrew Baker. Here, let's go to this clip. I think we have it queued up. And you're going to hear Prosecutor Blackwell also asking Dr. Lindsay Thomas questions.
In terms of the video footage, then either ruling in a cause or ruling out a cause, how did it inform your assessments about the cause of death, having looked at the video?
Well, it helped me rule in a cause and also rule out causes, I would say.
So did it help you determine whether this was what I might refer to as a lights out kind of death, a sudden death?
Right. So what I observed from all of these videos is this was not a sudden death. Mr. Floyd did not, it's not like the snow shoveling where I told you somebody comes in, collapses and, clutches their chest and falls over. There was nothing sudden about his death. So that's what I would have expected if it was a cardiac arrhythmia or abnormal beating of the heart. Typically those are someone really falls over pretty quickly. And this was not that. Likewise, it was not the type of death that has been reported in fentanyl overdose, for example, where someone becomes very sleepy and then just sort of gradually, calmly, peacefully stops breathing. This was not that kind of a death. So I felt comfortable ruling out those as causes of death. And then on the flip side, I could clearly see from watching the video what happens to Mr. Floyd during this subdual, restraint, and compression. And what happens to his breathing is it gradually becomes more difficult and then stops.
Okay.
In this case.
So let me see something here. Okay. Just 1 second here. I want to show you this here. Okay. Forensic pathologist. This is Dr. Lindsay Thomas, who you just heard. Police, not drugs, caused George Floyd's death. So expert witness after expert witness, doctor after doctor after doctor has basically said the same thing. Okay. The police killed George Floyd. It wasn't none of this other stuff that the defense attorney's trying to say. All right. They're basically saying the same thing. Here's forensic pathologist, Dr. Lindsay Thomas. Okay. I want to go to this last clip here. Yeah, okay, because I don't think I played this one. And this was another clip I was looking for here. Let's go to this one. Dr. Lindsay Thomas is testifying here in this clip as well. Forensic pathologist, law enforcement actions caused George Floyd's death. Law enforcement actions caused George Floyd's death. Let's go to this clip.
In this case, I believe the primary mechanism of death is asphyxia or low oxygen.
So we'll come back to the mechanism in just a minute. Can you explain to the jury what this cause of death means and why you agree with it?
Well, it's kind of in two parts. So there's the cardiopulmonary arrest, which it doesn't provide a lot of additional clarifying information because in a way everyone dies of when your heart stops and your lungs stop. That's cardiopulmonary arrest. But as a forensic pathologist, I would use cardiopulmonary arrest when I'm to differentiate it from a cardiac arrest. So this is not a sudden cardiac death, a sudden cardiac arrhythmia. This is a death where both the heart and lungs stopped working. And the point is that it's due to law enforcement subdual, restraint, and compression. That is kind of what ultimately is the immediate cause of death, is the subdual, restraint, and compression.
And just so it's clear for the jurors, does cardiopulmonary arrest mean heart attack?
No.
Does it mean fatal arrhythmia as a primary cause of death?
No.
It simply means that the heart stops and the lungs have stopped.
Correct.
It's another way of simply describing death itself.
Right.
Can you explain what's referred to, looking here at the terms subdual, restraint, and neck compression?
Those were activities by the law enforcement agency officers involved. Subdual is subduing someone, trying to restrain them is, in Mr. Floyd's case, involved handcuffing him, his positioning on the ground, the prone position, the people kneeling on him. And the neck compression is the knee on the neck specifically. Additionally, there was some back and other things being compressed by the officers.
So if you put all this together, cardiopulmonary arrest, complicating, law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression, what does that mean?
Well, what it means to me is that the activities of the law enforcement officers resulted in Mr. Floyd's death, and that specifically those activities were the subdual, the restraint, and the neck compression.
And does this then also represent your own conclusion?
Yes.
A conclusion you have reached and an opinion you hold to a reasonable degree of medical certainty?
Yes.
Would you tell us what you reviewed in order to reach this conclusion?
All of those things that I mentioned earlier, again, what's sort of unique about this case is that often I would just review the medical examiner case file, and that would provide information about what the cause and manner of death is. But in this case, the autopsy itself didn't tell me the cause and manner of death, and it really required getting all of this other additional information, specifically the video evidence of the terminal events, to conclude the cause of death and manner of death.
Oh, okay. All right. So once again, I hope Derek Chauvin is found guilty. I have a reasonable certainty he will be found guilty. Okay, for those just tuning in, this show started over an hour ago. We spend a significant amount of time on DMX. So when we're done, you can go back and watch it in its entirety. We dealt with DMX first. We started a little after 11 o'clock. Anyway, so like I said, now this is day 10 of the trial. I've been covering this trial each day. And I caution people. See, I've been doing radio 11 years. I've covered a number of different court cases, police trials. So once again, the defense has not presented their case yet. This is what people have to understand. The defense has not presented their case yet. So I think Chauvin will be found guilty. I'm more hopeful. I'm more confident now than I was at the beginning of the trial that he will be found guilty. But here's what people have to understand, and I said this on Roland Martin Unfiltered today. What's important to understand is that the burden of proof is on the prosecution. The burden of proof is on the prosecution. The prosecution, and they're doing a fantastic job, but the prosecution has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, based upon evidence and witnesses and everything, but based upon the evidence, they have to prove that to 12 jurors beyond a reasonable doubt that Derek Chauvin is guilty of killing George Floyd. Not that George Floyd died, but that Derek Chauvin killed him. Okay? And depending upon which murder charge you go with, you have to prove intent, depending upon which murder charge you're trying to get a conviction on. If you have one juror who says, well, I'm not sure, I'm not convinced, maybe it was the drugs, maybe it was the alcohol, maybe he was just gonna die that day. Maybe it was just his day to die. If you have one juror out of 12 who's not convinced, then you have a mistrial. Okay, and it's up to the prosecutor's office, up to Keith Ellison, Minnesota State Prosecutor, Attorney General, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. It's up to him if they prosecute the case again, which they probably will. But I'm just explaining it to you because see, with Philando Castile. That was in Minnesota also. And I was pretty sure Philando Castile I was pretty sure Officer Yanez, who killed Philando Castile, would be convicted. But I read some of the transcript of Officer Yanez's testimony. Officer Yanez testified that he smelled marijuana in the car. And he said they had their Philando Castile's, they had his fiance's daughter was in the car. And he said, what kind of people would have marijuana in the car with a little child? And he used the fact that he claims he smelled marijuana in the car. He used that to then see this ties into drugs and the fear of African Americans and all this stuff. He used that to then discredit Philando Castile and paint him as a threat. This is what happened in court. And then you had the jury. You had a lot of pro-police people on the jury. Not all of them, but you had a lot of pro-police people on the jury that found Yanez not guilty. So this is a different case. That's true. Keith Ellison wasn't the prosecutor under. He wasn't the attorney general when Philando Castile, when that case took place. That's true, but I've just seen stranger things happen. So there's more evidence to convict here because we didn't have all of the video footage. You had the video that we saw that his fiance Diamond that she filmed. That starts after Philando Castile shot. Okay, so you got more video evidence here in this case. Okay, there's more evidence against this officer, Chauvin, than there was against Yanez, even though Yanez was guilty. He freaked out. Yanez freaked out. And then the other thing was Philando Castile was a CPL holder, concealed pistol license holder. He had his gun on him. He told the officer he was a CPL holder and had his gun on him. Now, based upon Minnesota state law at the time, I don't know if it's changed since then, but based upon Minnesota state law at the time, a CPL holder was not required to tell the officer that they were a CPL holder and had their gun on them. Philando Castile went above and beyond state law requirements, because he had been arrested a number of times, something like 30 times. Okay. Now, one thing that I do recommend is that if you are a CPL holder and you carry your gun on you, especially for men, don't carry your gun on the same side of your body that you carry your wallet. Okay, now I don't want people to take this the wrong way. I'm not blaming Philando Castile. It wasn't his fault. But to be cautious, don't carry your wallet on the same side of your body as you carry your gun, because like most men carry their wallet in their back pocket. Okay. So if you're right-handed, most likely you carry your gun on the right side of your body. If you have your gun on your right hip, and if your wallet is in your right back pocket, you could be honestly, legitimately going to get your wallet, but you got to pass your gun to get to the wallet. Well, if an officer sees that, now you're not trying to do anything. You're just trying to get your wallet. You're trying to comply. But so if you carry, I would suggest, you can do what you want to do, but I would suggest carrying your wallet on the opposite side of your body that you carry your gun on if you have it. So you do what you want to do, but I'm just saying. So if you can make that one change and save your life, I think it'd be worth it. But, all right. So, we'll be back Sunday night. We're here 6 nights a week, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time, the African History Network show. If you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network. $ the AHN show through Cash App. $ the AHN show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show, paypal.me/the AHN show. And then you could, all of my DVD lectures are available at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, DVD lectures and digital downloads as well. And you can still register for the online course that I teach, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa. Understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Ancient Kemet, one of the original names for Egypt. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa. Understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Okay. So this is a 18-week, 16-hour online course that we teach. We deal with thousands of years of history. And we deal with thousands of years of history and what led up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. It is normally it's 8 weeks, but we had 2 guest speakers this time in class. So it's a 9 weeks, 18-hour online course. Deal with thousands of years of history. We do the classes live on Tuesday nights. As soon as you register, you can watch the previous classes, and you can watch the class we just did this past Tuesday. Next class is going to be Tuesday, April 13th. Okay. And you can ask questions during the class as well through the live chat. Okay. I can't see you. Okay. So you don't have to, you have to do your hair and all that stuff like that. You don't have to do that. Okay. All right. But when you go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, scroll down the page, you'll see information for the radio show. Okay. And you can listen to audio podcasts of my show here. We have over 1,000 audio podcasts. Download the iHeartRadio app also and search for the African History Network show. They have podcasts there as well. And you can listen to 9:10 a.m. the Superstation WFDF, the radio station I'm on. 9:10 a.m. the Superstation WFDF here in Detroit. You can listen to live shows when you download the iHeartRadio app. Search for 9:10 a.m. WFDF. You can read articles I've written. Click right here to read articles I've written. This is the episode of our show. This was the day after the Grammys and Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B were performing. So we dealt with them performing WAP, and we dealt with negative corporate control hip hop and how we're under attack by white supremacy and racism and negative corporate control hip hop and messages in the music, things like this. So you can watch that. And it's on YouTube as well. Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP on YouTube, and it's on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. Click right here. We'll update this here for the class. But here's the information for the class. Click right here to register here. Takes you to the next page. Click on enroll. So class is regularly $130. It's on sale $80. You can watch as much as you want. Even after class is over, you can still watch. And you can watch them around the world. Okay. I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have book references, articles. There's about 50 articles that I reference in the class. So we have all of that. Okay. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. All right. Okay. Visit workingwithjohnray.com, workingwithjohnray.com. John Ray has information there dealing with a concept called income shifting, which will help you free up money that helps you free up income so you can do things with it like invest and buy a car, buy a home, etc. Workingwithjohnray.com. There's a good video there as well. It's a very interesting website. Okay, so we'll post a link here for the online course also, and we'll see you in class Tuesday. This Tuesday. Let me post this here. All right, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you Sunday night. Peace. Digital Dandelion's Technical Solutions works with businesses like yours to create an operations manual for your business, which is something many businesses don't have. According to AARP, more than 30% of small business owners are over 50 years old. Many business owners want to retire by selling their businesses or by passing their businesses on to their children. However, according to Forbes Investment Advisors, many retiring owners' attempts to sell their businesses for retirement fail. You cannot sell your business without a business manual. Your children also cannot inherit your business because there is no way to run it. Your business does not have to die when you leave. Their business Bible products will give you the tools you need for a thriving business that can make you money even after you retire. Are you looking at increasing your business's annual revenue? Digital Dandelions can help you make at least $100,000 in annual revenue and expand your business. Speak with them today about solidifying your business. Visit digitaldandelions.com today and get a free 30-minute consultation.
We all know the cannabis industry is headed toward an uprise in the past decade. What happens when there is a brand that brings this uprise in a blow? The cannabis industry welcomes her uprise. Hustle her hemp. Delivering excellence with pride is her watchword, and how you choose to embrace it makes it a priority. From cultivating rich cannabis into exquisite and tastefully finished CBD products to delivery, Hustle Her Hemp leaves no stone unturned. Hustle Her Hemp's mission is to empower women of color by building business and creating legacies, uniting beauty, health, and business. We are a pure definition of how we want the CBD industry to become in the future. While we are redefining innovation, we bring the same energy to improving the quality of life. Hustle Her Hemp is the new uprise.
Black Bees products are a collection of natural, organic, personal care products with an appreciation of nature and bees. Our philosophy is without bees, we have nothing. We are honoring our Nile Valley ancestors who understood the importance of bees. Black Bees created a high-quality, natural, organic personal care line that would be affordable to everyone. We hope you try and enjoy our Black Bees products line and come back and visit us at blackbeesproducts.com.
With blackbusinesstee.com, the messages are clear and meaningful. Keep your business in the black and out of the red. Mind your black business, know your numbers, and plan strategically. Black Business Boss, lead your industry. Support black business. Encourage, patronize, and uplift one another. BlackBusinessTea.com currently has products sold in Detroit, Atlanta, Chicago, and Los Angeles, with proceeds returned to the black community. They have a wide selection of hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, hats, sweatshirts that support black-owned businesses. Visit the website blackbusinesstee.com. That's blackbusinesstee.com.
Gain knowledge in minutes from insightful summaries of progressive and socially conscious books. Blacklisted gives you access to curated content that'll satisfy your curiosity to learn and understand different perspectives. Empower yourself through inspirational and actionable ideas. It's easy to read or listen to on the go. Blacklisted. Empower yourself. Start your free trial today.
For 25 years, the Black History 101 Mobile Museum has carried on the rich legacy of the Black Museum movement in America by showcasing original artifacts of the Black experience at colleges, universities, K-12 schools, corporations, libraries, conferences, and cultural events, making it the most traversed Black History mobile exhibit in American history. Dr. Khalid El Hakim is the founder of the Black History 101 Mobile Museum, and he is a highly sought-after public speaker on topics of Black history, social studies, education, museum studies, hip-hop, and race relations. Dr. Khalid was named among the change makers for NBC Universal's Erase the Hate campaign and listed as one of the 100 men of distinction for Black enterprise. He recently founded the Michigan Hip Hop Archive on the campus of Western Michigan University. The Black History 101 Mobile Museum is currently scheduling in-person and virtual exhibits nationwide. For more information, please contact Dr. Khalid Al Hakim directly at 313-645-4197, 313-645-4197, or visit their website at blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. That's blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. You can also email him at bhistory101@yahoo.com, bhistory101@yahoo.com.